So you may have heard this before, that if you want to be really good at something, it's going to take you about 10,000 hours of practice. Have you heard that before? So Rich is going to show us what 10,000 hours of practice can do. Go, Rich. I bow at your feet. And he can do that, and it looks easy, doesn't it? And not only when he does that thing, but when he does the worship leadership, doesn't he do it with a freedom and a joy that just is a blessing to us? So, Rich, we thank you for the 10,000 plus hours. Yeah, we thank you because him paying the cost of practice is a blessing to us, isn't it? Yeah. I'm going to be talking to you about paying the cost, counting the cost, and how much practice it takes to be excellent at something. Full disclosure, I'm going to show you a video of my son-in-law right now. My son-in-law's name is Tanner McGrew. He's a basketball player. He's shooting a three right here. And this is his highlight reel that his new team in Porto, Portugal just put up. This past year, he played for the Memphis Grizzlies G League, the Utah Jazz G League and Summer League team. He played for Team USA, FIBA team. And now he's playing for FC Porto in Portugal. And he went to West Virginia Wesleyan on a music scholarship, was a walk-on basketball player his sophomore year, and he will tell you he was not very good. He will tell you that. But he just kept on practicing and working, and watch this. Wasn't that sweet? So sweet you got to see it again. No look. Hey, but that's what 10,000 hours of practice can do for you. Can do for you. Here's another example. This will be about 8 years ago, I think, 7 years ago. My family and I had just moved to a little town called Romney, West Virginia, where they have the best peaches in the world. And I was taking a walk in town. My office was near a cemetery, and there was the grave of the Reverend John Jacob there, who was one of the first Methodist preachers in this area back in the 1700s. And I used to go talk to him, which is a whole nother thing that I'm not prepared to tell you about this morning. But right next to the cemetery there in Romney was the old grade school and the old elementary school football field. So we moved there, and I'm walking, and I look over, and there's this single kid there in the field, and I think he's got 3 footballs, and he's got this thing that you lean against the football so you can kick it if you don't have anybody to hold your ball for you. And his name is Evan, and he ended up, I think he's on scholarship at WVU by now. He walked on. And after a tough game yesterday, I'm thinking Evan's going to be on the field today putting in 10,000 more hours. You know what I mean? If you want to be good, and if you want to be excellent at something, if you want to get to the place where what you do, you are able to do with a freedom and a joy, if you want to get to that kind of place, it's really going to cost you. And so we come to the scripture lesson today. When you heard it read, I hope you kind of went, is that Jesus talking? I noticed that you did not very enthusiastically respond to the word of God for the people of God. Thanks for that. Because Jesus said, if you want to be my follower, you got to hate your mom and your dad, your husband and your wife, your children, your life, and you got to give away all your stuff if you even want to come near me. Now, what's going on there? Do all of us just need to go home and forget about this? What's happening here? Well, part of what's happening is Jesus is using a teaching technique that we see all the time, or a way of talking that we see all the time. It's called hyperbole. Yesterday, I got to watch part of the Mountaineer game. Thankful that it was only part. Had to go to a meeting. Thought I would see how bad it turned out. So I'm in the meeting, and it's getting a little boring. So I get my phone, and I pull it up on Twitter, and there's a guy who says, Missouri is killing us. To the best of my knowledge, no Mountaineers were taken off the field with gunshots or knife wounds. So you know, when you read that, you didn't go, oh my, there was a mass shooting at the Mountaineer game. You didn't do that. You knew that that person was using some hyperbole, right? Missouri was killing us, but they weren't killing us. But they were killing us. And so Jesus is using this kind of shocking language because he really needs to communicate something with some force. And so he will say, if you're going to be my follower, you need to hate your family, your life, and you need to give up all your possessions. That's shocking language. Why is he doing that? He's doing that to make a strong point. He's doing it, I think, probably to make a strong point with some certain people. That passage began by saying that there was a large crowd following Jesus. And in this crowd, there were some folks who were really interested in what Jesus was interested in. And frankly, there were some other folks who thought of Jesus as a bit of a miracle machine. And if they hung around him long enough, they could get some cheap blessings. And Jesus is looking for folks who are more like really committed friends to be with him. People who are going to share a passion about what he is passionate about. And so he uses this shocking language to get their attention. And, in all honesty, Jesus is simply communicating with this shocking language that indeed, if you're going to stick with me, it could be that it brings some stress upon your relationship with your family, certain families. They will not like that you're going to keep with me. And frankly, he is communicating, if you're going to stick with me, it's going to put a different perspective on your relationship with your possessions, acquiring those possessions and holding on to those possessions. If you're going to stick with me, there's going to be some stress on that. And so he uses that strong strong language to communicate that these folks needed to count the cost of being a committed friend to Jesus. They needed to count the cost of being his committed friend before they would experience the freedom and joy that comes from that deep and abiding friendship. There's some things that are wonderful and costly at the same time. This morning, we're going to be welcoming a family into the membership here at Suncrest. Ford family, beautiful family. They travel all the way from Fairmont to come and worship here because they really like it here. They like you guys. Of course, they haven't met all of you, but no, they really appreciate what we do here at Suncrest. And as we were talking about what membership means, they never did ask me what kind of benefits come with membership. You know, they never asked, do we get a free coffee maker or a set of Ginsu knives or free t-shirt? What are the benefits that come? They never asked about that. And what we talked about is what it would cost them. When you become a member of a United Methodist Church, we tell you how much it costs you. We bring you up here and we say, are you prepared to support this church and its ministries with your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness? No coffee makers. We ask you to count the cost. We need you to count the cost, what it costs to become a person of prayer. Now, prayer is more than asking God for things. Prayer is developing the practice of being constantly open to the presence of God. We need folks who are becoming people of prayer, that is their practice. We need people of presence. Worship is the only thing that you are going to do for an eternity. And you were made for it. And we need you regularly present with God. And we need you present with other people because there are people here who are going to need you. Prayers, presence, gifts. We need your gifts. There are missionaries that we have who are fighting Ebola right now who need your gifts. We've got folks already in the Bahamas who need your gifts. We are doing our best to raise up children and youth and students who are vitally connected to God, and they're not even your kids, and they need your gifts. Prayers, presence, gifts, and service. You've got God-given abilities. You've got passions on your heart. You've got skills and experiences. And if we're going to accomplish the will of God, we need your service. Prayers, presence, gifts, service, witness. Your workplace, your classroom, the fields and courts that you play on, the clubs and et cetera that you're involved in. Those places are places where you are representatives of Christ and of this church. Heck, we might even ask you to spend your own money to go on a mission trip and sleep on a floor so that you can be a blessing to somebody else. We need your witness. We need you to practice these things with and for Jesus. We need you to count the cost. And our deep hope and prayer is that as you practice these things, you and I will be becoming a spiritually mature person, joyful and free in your faith. Now, can I take you a little deeper than that? It takes a lot of practice with Jesus before one learns to turn the other cheek rather than to return the slap. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice to take the log out of one's own eye before you get distracted by the speck in somebody else's eye. It takes a lot of practice to learn not to judge lest you be judged. It takes a lot of practice to learn as if you believe it is better to give than to receive. It takes a lot of practice to be free with Jesus. I'd like to share a prayer with you, and if you had a guess who it was, see if you can identify who you think it is, and I'll tell you who it is. Okay? This is the prayer. Lord, when I think that my heart is overflowing with love and realize in a moment's honesty that it is only myself that I love, deliver me from myself. When I think I have given all to you and realize in a moment's honesty that it is I who am the recipient, deliver me from myself. When I have convinced myself that I am poor and realize in a moment's honesty that I am rich in pride and envy, save me from myself. And Lord, when the kingdom of heaven merges deceptively with the kingdoms of this world, let nothing satisfy me but God. Any guess who prayed that? It was Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa. Wonder how many hours of practice she put in. So Jesus confronts us with this startling language that may reveal to us how cheaply we have been living, and he challenges us to count the cost of what it would take to live a life of such freedom and joy that merely us living our lives would be a light and a blessing to others.